Hello, my name is Andy, and I'm a minister for Trinity of Christ Ministries. We can be found at trinityofchrist.org, and you can find us on YouTube by searching for TOCM Weekly Service, or TOCM Bible Study, or TOCM Prayer Meeting. And so these are ways that you can bring our service into your home. Today we're going to be talking about bringing church into the home. Now, I'm sure that there are many out there who are nervous about doing such a thing. We don't feel worthy of teaching maybe our kids or our neighbors or anyone you may invite to your home for this. But you really don't have to be more than a coordinator to do it. Be the person who sets up the time and the place and provides the goods that they may need to go through whatever you're doing. We provide at Trinity of Christ Ministries. We provide the training and the message, so you can freely talk about the message amongst yourselves. And so the pressure is not on you to be holy, although we are all called to try to be holy. But you can establish church in the house where it's so much more personal than it is in a main church. Now, you might ask yourself, well, how and why can we do this? Is it right to do this? Shouldn't we go to this official church with the traditions that are in place and to honor God that way? And you wouldn't be wrong. The fact is that we should be attached to a local church, and we should spend a little time with God in that manner. We're not here to prevent that, but we're here to deepen that. You see, in the old church, the early church, all church was held at home. And oftentimes, when a parent would become a faithful minister of God, they would first convert their home, and then they would reach to their neighbors. And so over time, it became bigger. And so we formed churches. And the churches had to become slightly less personal, because the more people you have, the harder it is to keep your faith personal. This is something that's been lacking in the churches for years. I used to work as a secretary of a church. I used to be a religious educator, and I used to see what was happening. And what would end up happening is the parents, not knowing the faith themselves, would send their children to religious education, almost like a babysitter. And these children would come in, and their parents did not practice their faith in their home. They never seen anything. They didn't pray, they didn't read the Bible, they never even talked about God. They probably didn't even have anything on the walls. to show their faith. And so all of a sudden, the kids are being pushed to go to this school to learn about faith. And of course, they have no faith in it because they see that their parents don't have any faith in it. And if you allow that to continue, they'll never really convert. They may say that they've converted to the church. They may say that they accept Jesus. They may say these things to shut you up, to put it in a nice way. and in reality, they don't truly believe. So, faith must start in the home. Your children must see it in their parents. And even the neighbors should know that you're at least a Christian. And what's happened is it's all been whitewashed. You don't practice your faith daily. You don't practice it in the home at all. And it's only something you put off to the last one weekend, you go to church. And then you forget about it the rest of the time. Well, you see, that's very poor way of demonstrating your faith. In fact, you probably could argue that you really don't have faith unless you practice it daily. And so at Trinity of Christ Ministries, we want to help you bring church back into the home. We're not going to be as formal as a church that you would go to where you would receive, the body and the blood of Christ in a formal manner. But in exchange for that, you have the chance to make it personal. If you don't have to have a Eucharist chip, or the little white. I actually have a sample, but I don't have it with me. The bread and a goblet or whatever. You don't necessarily have that in your home, but you can substitute it with a cracker, croutons, slice of bread, Syrian bread. You can have juice. You can have wine. You could have, whatever you choose to share. It's not in the physical properties of what you're eating that makes the difference. It's in the heart of the individual receiving it. So we at Trinity of Christ can celebrate our service, including doing the body and the blood. And we can ask for that blessing to fall upon your bread and your drink so that you, in receiving that blessing, can receive Christ. And now, in a home environment, instead of just walking in line and gathering the bread and gathering the juice or wine, you could take the moment when your child comes up and you give them the bread and you give them the juice, lay a hand on them and bless them. Well, you might say, well, how can I have the authority to do that? And I'll tell you, if you're truly a Christian, you have that authority. If you're a parent, you have the authority to bless or curse your children. And I'll even go so far as to say, if you don't teach your children the faith, you don't teach them how to kneel and pray before bed, or when they wake up to start a new day, if you don't show that you have faith by reading the Bible with them, sharing it with them, you are cursing your children. You're saying, okay, well, let the world teach you how to live. And I think we've seen pretty clearly how that goes. We have a whole generation that's lost because they didn't have anyone to teach them the basics of life, what is expected of them, how being a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and how you should be proud of who you are. Instead of teaching them, oh, well, just change what you are at a whim. Just because you think in this moment you want to be something else, do it. That's foolish. So when you expose your children to the world, they're going to teach them stuff like that. And they are going to destroy the very fabric of who they are. The only defense you have is to bring faith into the home where you can see it happening and you can participate in loving your children and loving God. I hope that this is reaching you as a person who wants to bring faith into their home. The Trinity of Christ, we have a weekly service. We call it a weekly service rather than a Sunday service because it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could choose the time when you can gather your family together. You can choose when and the how and when you're ready. And you can do so with a Bible study. How does a Bible study work? Well, we put it on TV, on YouTube TV, and you just go to TOCM Bible Study, and you can run the Bible study, watch it, and then discuss it and learn together. Well, what about prayer? We have a prayer meeting also available that you can pray along with us. And it teaches your children how to pray, how to be compassionate, how to look to God for their help and their needs. So you see, it's not outside of your ability. If you have a smart TV and you have YouTube part of the TV set, you can go right to it. If you have Comcast, they have apps, an app section where you can go to YouTube, do a search for TOCM weekly service, and you can bring it into your home. I mean, you could also do it via phone or computer or tablet. But, if you're going to do a home setting where you're going to have a home service, I suggest you do it on the TV where everyone can sit together and participate together and honor God. I know of no better way to convince your children that it really means something to you. And I hope that you'll consider this as you go on. And you can do this beside the church, the local church you attend to. Because they don't have something like this, I am sure. So I hope you go forth and God bless you. And I thank you for listening.